All right, quick look around the markets. Just pretty deep into this sort of Euro session. Probably you sort of label a bit more sort of like pre-US session around this sort of period. Now it's 10:27 at night. Look, just have a look at a bit of gold because this thing absolutely went on a rip roar in today. We pretty much, as we could see, this is the big candle from China Open, which is 12 o'clock Melbourne time, and it really just took off. It sort of fluffed around a little bit here. It looked like it might have just been about to sort of give back some of it, but of course just grinded all the way sort of through. We did obviously get a little bit of a sell down, sort of kind of halfway between Asia and London pre. Almost about $50 or something. I think that sort of pulled back, but as you can see, it was pretty short-lived and kind of really sort of building itself straight back up there again. Really, Euro session's just been a little bit quiet for a while, really, for sort of metals movements and that. So it's not really too much of a shocker that you're starting to see the market just really kind of take a bit of a breather here at the moment. But what we've really got is just a sort of triangle sort of consolidation up the top. I've actually popped it down to 30 minute time frame here just so you can see that triangle a little bit better. This is probably what's going to give us a little bit more of a sort of confirmation of a break higher. I mean, technical, your sort of swing high is above sort of this 80 point, but obviously then you're running into what is now a new all-time high. From the downside, look, from the downside, I wouldn't. It's a bit hard to sort of when you've got this thing realistically done. What have we done? About $300 this week, and what is it? Wednesday, end of Wednesday night. So it's been an absolute rip move, and it's really just sort of consolidating right at the highs. So if you try and sort of unpack that a little bit, what's actually happening up here? It's just sort of like, we've gone up, obviously, it's been massively and big sort of bullish move the whole way through here anyway. But even if you look at it just in this session, they're not exactly running to the door to sort of like lock in profits, which have obviously, it's done like $100 or something on the day. Where's the open here? About down here. So yeah, 47.60 up to 48.88, 888. Was that 888 is the high? Or 89, I don't know. Because I know the eights. I know the Chinese like the eights, don't they? I think that's one of their sort of magic numbers, or maybe sort of multiple eights or something. But anyway, beside that, the point is it's gone up a sort of 120, $130 or thereabouts through the day, and yeah, pulled back about 50, but obviously that's still bought up there. So I wouldn't really sort of pay too much into the fact of it just sort of stalling. It's just taking a breather. It can't go at this kind of velocity. Maybe I'm speaking a little bit early for too long. So I think sort of should this triangle fail, or even if we get a bit of a breakout here and we find sellers again at this sort of top side over here. Look, a move down underneath sort of 48.45, close down underneath here, really opens it up to another buy opportunity, 48.20, which is kind of where the buyers really pushed up to after that initial push up. So we had China open, pumped up here. I mean, this is, again, this 30-minute candle from 83 up to 40. So it's a $40 candle there, stuffed around a little bit. Buyers obviously move the bid right up here. So this is where they're sitting here again. So even if you do break underneath 45, I would say 48.20 is just going to find even more hungry buyers, because realistically this thing came down $50 and they're already sort of jumping on the sort of bid with it there as well. So look, there is a chance that we do see a little bit more of a consolidation. These triangles don't always lead to a direct sort of straight breakout straight away. We could see a little bit more sort of consolidation through here. It's hard to sort of put it into context the size of magnitude of these moves. Once upon a time we'd sort of be saying, look, it was a good month and it's done $100 or something. Now it's sort of done it within a session, not even a full day, two sessions, sort of like, and we don't even count Euro really here, basically just through Asia. So Asia's definitely the metal mover here. As we can see, it's gone into a little bit of a snooze mode through Euro, as we've seen so far, and then obviously wait to see what happens with the US sessions and that. We've still got that Davos thing going on, Davos. That's got headlines going bang, 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 non-stop, and everybody's kind of freaking out every 2 seconds with something. And this is really what's just piled onto this whole move through here. Like, it's a combination. It's like, we had the Greenland thing, that's fine. We had the Euro tariffs, that's fine. Then we get to sort of like last night, and we had sort of Macron sort of saying he doesn't want you to be part of the peace thing. So Trump says, I'm going to give you 200% tariffs on your wines. Okay, that's fine. Move on from that. Then we had supposed to have and I said this the other day when we were supposed to have that tariff decision from the Supreme Court. If you don't get a decision, that's three times now we've had that, and three times the market's just bought gold up afterwards. And as you can see, again, bang, it played out. So I said that after the last one as well. That Okay, it's going to be a phone call. So look, it's not guaranteed that this break of this triangle is going to give us explosions. I think sort of till you get a close above 48.90, then it's on with the show. If we do get a breakdown to the bottom side here, and then a test of 48.20s, I expect buyers to be around this zone here. If this thing's going to come down, this is the area that needs to sort of break and close underneath 48.20. If we don't, till we get to sort of close underneath 48.20 and we see that this push of the buyers moving up, it's going to really just be dancing around this sort of $60 range, which is certainly something you can sort of play with. I mean, that's a big range to play with, but it's of course everybody wants 5,000. Everybody's talking about 5,000. And at the rate it's going, looks like it could come quicker sooner than rather than later. But these things can always have a nasty habit of going, hold on, wait, maybe not quite yet. So we'll see. Cool. And sort of moving on. So might as well, while we're on the metals, have a look at silver. Silver's really kind of underperformed gold in this kind of move, I would say. Sort of like we've seen sort of obviously gold just go absolutely rip roaring. Silver, a big thing with silver today I noticed was so metals will, for the majority of the time, will always run together. One will be taking the lead, whether it be silver outperforming generally whatever direction it's going, silver percentage wise, will generally outperform gold. But if gold's moving, silver will run with it. If silver's moving, gold will run with it. It may be behind it, but very rarely will you get sort of something moving in a sort of oops, somebody at the door. Cool, and I'm back. So yeah, like silver, as I said, so I kind of lost where I was for 2 seconds there. But basically, what I was noticing this morning, when we had sort of gold absolute rip to the top side, as I showed 2 seconds, if we put these side by side, and we put gold over here, there we are. That's good enough, yeah. Basically, what I sort of noticed this morning is like this is the candle, as you can see the time down the bottom there, that's 12 o'clock, that's China opening. We get a big push of volume in. Gold obviously took off. Look at the 12 o'clock candle for silver. They just absolutely dumped it at the same time. And yes, you could sort of say, okay, well, gold, it's a better sort of safety play and all this kind of sort of jazz. That's fine, but that has never really happened. It just doesn't happen like that. And so it's more just sort of that, this is very much a gold play. If we have a look at sort of, get back onto one chart here, have a look at sort of gold silver ratio through this kind of period as well. Here's 12 o'clock today. We pushed up to the top side here. So that would make sense. Obviously, this is the gold silver ratio and that. So typically, sort of obviously, sort of like it would be favoring gold. I never look at this on this low time frame, by the way. But what you would typically kind of see with this would be that moving down, this chart moving down, as I said, silver will outperform gold. I mean, that just gives you an idea of why we've been having this big metals run here. But the point is that this push to the top side here, generally through these spikes here, as we've seen the last couple of weeks or so, last week and a bit, have been through periods of both gold and silver getting hammered. Now, this is what makes this a little bit interesting is that, yes, this moved up here. Silver reacted to this gold silver ratio moving a little bit higher. But gold obviously just it blew out and went to the top side with it all. And that's why I sort of thought that initial move with gold could have potentially been maybe just a little bit of a stop hunt and a little bit of a move up here, and hence why I'm also a little bit cautious. I've said this a number of times, I'm buying it for any kind of sort of long-term hold at these levels. Look, I've said this every couple of $100 and that, and obviously sort of missed the boat with these big runs, but it's just something that I sort of noticed through this session today, which I thought was quite interesting. Just with silver, like it did sort of recover because obviously silver's very much at the highs, and yes, you could make the argument that silver has far outrun gold, so gold's been playing a bit of catch up. But have a look at this week. They both pushed off the what's it called the Greenland news. This is the move on Monday morning. Bang, they both pushed up there. So if in a perfect, quote unquote, perfect world, they both react to the uncertainty in market going, okay, yep, let's buy it. Both sort of consolidated the Monday. Disregard that, it's Martin Luther King Day, whatever. And look, silver did technically put in new all-time highs here, but it's been very lackluster. And really, it is just sort of coming back into a little period of consolidation. And like I said before, look, consolidation does favour sort of continuation. So there is obviously a very much skewed chance of this again going higher. But what we are sort of seeing is that sort of like, through this sort of period, while gold was moving up, gold silver ratio was moving up, silver was respecting it, gold obviously off doing its own thing. I guess through all of this, I think the unpack is if we do see gold sell down, and not sort of sell down, get hammered, but if we do see gold go through a period of profit taking after this mega run, that the market's already sort of selling silver. I don't think the rotation is going to be so clear cut to sort of say, well, okay, the flows will come out of gold and it'll just go back into silver. So it would again sort of make me sort of think there is potential that if we use sort of gold as a bit of a sort of a beacon, a bit of a sort of a canary as to sort of what the next move is going to be, that should we do see some profit taking in that, I think sort of like, these lower levels, 93, 93.80, they're kind of levels where we could potentially see silver before we do see any upside here. It is kind of respecting this top line here a little bit at the moment, so you would sort of think there's a little bit of a horizontal through this zone here, but certainly underneath 94.40. See what happens at 93.80, because if that doesn't hold, then we're coming down to test this line down the bottom over here. Of course, this will come with a dollar rally, and it'll come with gold taking a little bit more of a profit-taking breather. It's not exactly going to sort of just lose everything overnight, but if it does sort of pull back and undo a considerable part of today's move, then I think silver's probably could be a little bit vulnerable. I probably prefer silver for a short side move here. Now again, look, it's literally like I'm saying all this, and it's like a dollar 20, or something off all-time highs. So it's not sort of saying that hey, we've caught the top and it's not going anywhere, but there's always a chance to sort of potentially have it cool off a little bit more, and then sort of then tackle sort of big breaks of sort of past say 95, 50, 96, moving on towards that sort of 100 zone. We are seeing a little bit of a sort of pullback here at the moment. Just if we're looking just intra-session, there's a little bit of a sort of push up here. And obviously, we're sort of broken through that down there. So a little alert just underneath this to sort of see if we're going to get any sort of continuation coming down here. But I think sort of like, a move down here, 93.80. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. 93.80 is pretty much where I'll be sort of focused on. Should we sort of push down a little bit lower just here? All right, move along. We've got Aussie. Aussie did get its sort of break higher. Pretty slow sort of break. I mean, it did get sort of up there, but I mean, this is the kind of thing that we say we want to see. We see this blue candle sort of closing out through the zone. That is what we got. Which chart were we using for this? That one's not filled out. Let's keep going with this one then. So pretty much we could sort of say that obviously it was in a bit of its range here, which is this little breakout box here. So If you want to actually just give it some actual sort of depth to the range, some actual size here, you can see that really all it's doing here is a back test. So this is the kind of period. This is how the breakouts work. You've got three parts to it all. You've obviously got the breakout. You want to see the back test and then the higher high continuation. This will generally come on a number of different time frames as well. So the fact that we got a little quick back test and then move forward, and that didn't continue doesn't mean it's dead. This is basically just going to a higher time frame back test. As you can see, it still looks pretty bullish on a 4 hour here. But if we get onto these lower time frames, that's probably a bit more of a substantial level there. But now it's given us a sort of definitive high. So if we say just across this zone here, above what's that, sort of 67.58, course 67.60. Above there, then you're moving on. Obviously, you're coming up to sort of test those highs just over there. If we do see any sort of pick up in the dollar, then I think we could sort of see this maybe come back in its little box as well. We do have sort of unemployment numbers tomorrow. Or sorry, not unemployment. We have employment numbers. We do actually, sorry, in saying that, we do have unemployment numbers as well. So the unemployment number percentages looked tipping to go up, which is not positive for Aussie, and for Aussie strength anyway. And also it is the job numbers, which are tipped to come back a little bit. But again, as I say, month in, month out, all they do is spam 20,000. So the idea that we had negative 23 last month, we got plus 28 this month, really, if you look at it enough, it holds very little weight. I mean, look at these forecasts. 20, 20, 20, 21, 25. That's just the last six of them, or five of them. And where's it come in? Negative 5, 42, negative 21, 14. They got one actually in August. They got, oh, that was the closest I ever saw. Broken clock right twice a day kind of thing. So I think that'll be a tell. If we get a low number over here, if we get a push up in unemployment, that's going to be sort of making people say, hey, look, maybe a hike is not the go right now. Maybe we need to just sort of cool the jets and hold for a little bit longer. I do think they're going to hold anyway at the next meeting, but we'll get to that when we get to this. Is just a quick little update. So for the short term here, it needs to stay above this little zone just here. So we'll put a little line over here. I think if you come down underneath 67.43, you're back into this zone and potentially just more consolidation. You've got a bigger zone at 67.23. That's what needs to be broken to sort of see any deeper sort of retracement. But at the moment, it could still break this level here. And if you get a failed breakout, i.e. back through 67.43, then we're back down 67.30, 67.25, back into the bottom of the range. And it puts the emphasis back on the bottom side there as well. Cool. And finally, just the dollar. Dollar's making an effort, but it got absolutely slammed yesterday. It got absolutely hammered. This could be a little bit of a line that we're starting to see here. I'm not really in the favor of this being a bear flag. Should it break? Oops, get rid of that one. That's kind of where your price target would be, which is just nasty. That would give probably gold flying up a bit more, silver flying up for a breakout. Aussie obviously certainly up into probably past 68 cents. So there's certainly a lot of weight on the dollar at the moment. It did sort of come back up and sort of test this kind of previous support level that we do have over here, and so there's no real shocker that we sort of found resistance coming into this. I mean, this is what we sort of marked out this morning. Said this is the level that it needs to get up back above to prove itself. At the moment, kissed it within a point of how we've drawn it. And obviously they've stepped in and started selling it there again. So, yeah, look, I mean, it's very much just getting bashed and battered. Every headline that comes out, well, basically any Trump headline that comes out just gets worse and worse for it. So, look, I wouldn't say that it's a dead, but if you saw the idea of the plan this morning, basically was to see some sort of bounce in the dollar and then have this move come down here. So if we break this sort of little rising support, that opens it up and says, okay, here we are. This is the final leg, or somewhat final leg. the third leg that's going to give us double bottom, where we could see range slash reversal. We could see high low, which actually probably would be better if you held these zones through here, but still, it would give you a sort of higher low, which could sort of mean that, okay, we've got a little temporary bottom in the dollar, or we could just see this thing completely crack and break and away that goes and it's onto another leg down. It's taken a pretty big beating from, just words at this stage. Like nothing's actually been implemented. But, we've seen the US 10s break out and the dollar really just didn't do anything. It actually got smashed as it did that. Equity markets are obviously getting smashed as well. Metals are obviously running. So the whole market's in risk off mode. They're just not choosing the US dollar at this stage. So I think any sort of like calm down in Greenland and all this kind of sort of stuff, I think will be positive for the dollar. It'll be probably sort of take a little bit of the wind out of the sail of gold, which then, as I just mentioned before, may actually trickle on and push, have flow-on effects with silver a little bit. Um, but these things aren't about to turn around 2 days later, I don't think. So we could be in for a little bit of a turbulent couple of days still to come. All right, that's it from me.